Class, focus! Focus up front! Pupils! Pupils, focus! I can't control my pupils. The question is, why is a student called a pupil, and also the dark round opening in the center of the iris also called a pupil? Well, believe it or not, there is a connection between the two. Well, an etymological connection. In order to see the connection, we need to go back to Latin to see the source word for pupil. Ultimately, our word pupil goes back to the Latin pupilla, which is itself a diminutive of the Latin pupa, which meant doll or girl. Thus, pupilla was little doll or little girl. In Old French from the late 14th century, the word was pupil, which was used for orphan child or a ward or a person under the care of a guardian.
Please, sir, I want some more.
This pupil transferred over to Middle English and was used for both sexes, a little orphan girl or boy, or any minor ward. It was only in the 16th century that pupil came to mean what we normally use it for today, namely a disciple, student youth, or any person of either sex under the care of an instructor or tutor. Thus, pupil simply meant a student.
Yeah, I can't wait till I go to high school.
Don't you say that. Don't you ever say that. Stay here. Stay as long as you can. For the love of God, cherish it.
Jennifer, why don't you...
It is possible that the Latin pupa is related to another Latin word, namely puer, which means child, and that this word goes back to the Proto-Indo-European root pau, which is used to denote few or little, as in the English words pauper or paucity. But what is the connection between the student pupil and the eye pupil? If you go close up to someone's eye, you can often see a tiny reflection of yourself in that dark center of the person's eye. This tiny reflection looks like a tiny you, a tiny doll, as it were. That dark area in the center of the iris, which reflected that tiny doll, came to be called the pupil.
I don't know about you, but that connection is a little weird, but it's also kind of neat.
Look, Barbie, a big ugly man doll. Ooh, he needs a makeover.
What is also weird is that the word baby used to mean in English the small image of oneself in another's pupil. This is now a very obsolete English term. No one uses it to mean this today, but it did give rise to the colloquial phrase to look babies, which meant to stare lovingly into another's eyes.
You must be Igor.
No, it's pronounced Igor.
But they told me it was Igor.
Well, they were wrong then, weren't they?
Actually, if we go back to the word pupa in Latin, I said that it meant a doll or a little girl. The doll also meant toy. In this sense, Middle French took this word and adapted it to the word poupée or poupette. That is why we have the word puppet. It's a little doll, a small-scaled version of a human or an animal. This meaning was in use since the 1530s. Middle English took this French word poupée and changed it to poppy or popey.
Why? Because you poopy?
The initial meaning of this word was used for a small lap dog, a lady's pet, as it were, in those days. When a larger dog wasn't used for hunting or herding or some useful work, it was a small dog, and it was more like a little toy that you played with. More like a pupa or puppet. It was a puppy. Eventually, from the 16th century, all very young dogs were called puppies, no matter what their breed or how big they would eventually get. They were all puppies.
The end.
Whoa, 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 Miss Lippy. The part of the story I don't like is that the little boy gave up looking for Happy after an hour. He didn't put posters up or anything. He just sat on the porch like a goon and waited. That little boy's got to think, you got a pet. You got a responsibility. If your dog is lost, you don't look for an hour and then call it quits. You get your out there and you find that fruity dog.
There you go. Now you're wise to the words.